Majority leader friends Mahama Ayariga any Speaker of Parliament. Omo Adwe Enkobenkrum the anti-LGBTQ bill no ehun. Now currently the Speaker of Parliament is of the opinion that omo reconsider bill no nanka be omo reverse the omo so omo pass no omo sanhwe for because there's a whole lot of issues. Mahama Ayariga chirimu a ono wa hokro ne nsa afi wa ye dwuma wi. Se speaker pe na on pass a ono ane jejiriji. Ebusia baby say e ya. Ni nyina ni. It's about 5 days ago, around 29th of May, right? That was when the anti-LGBTQ bill it was passed by Parliament. In fact, on the day I passed the bill, no, it was a whole lot of drama, of course, where the minority NPP4, if you say there are issues with the new bill normal pass because some of you say it is the watered down version of the non-communist President Akuffo then at the assign. And this time, there's been some changes. In fact, changes are not about kakra. And they say, unlike the previous one, nanka we a health worker, we a legal practitioner, and also we a blogger, journalist, media person, be an reportee, on LGBTQ. Nanka ni nyano emrano 8 ujumedi. But in this new one, on passing and emrana makwan amasa ankofu betimi edijuma with LGBTQ for what I say. I'll betimi report as a journalist and also as a media person. Obetimi offer a legal advice, legal counsel, or legal service to Ubia or LGBTQ. We a doctor and as a health practitioner, we a psychologist and all that. Obetimi no more engage. Emrano eno emiasem a more practice as no more Multimedia and Emrano more issue. That is the new one recently Obetimi a pass and it's been a whole lot of issues are now be by minority near accusing the majority say or manipulating him because the another that I know when it does say a sign and you and no we pass it. And so as we are more person who play smart, so they raise a whole lot of issues. Now a brain issues in the bar kaya Bagbin or no the Speaker of Parliament or share it me make comments be essay. A bill now or passing was surprising to him because on the day I know passing bill he wasn't expecting some be passing. Now mind you say on the day a passing bill no and you know and presiding over the House as Speaker. Near the deputy a friend of honorable Ahyafo or no any presiding over the House might me a pass the anti-LGBTQ bill on the 29th of May 2026. Enti Oba and was say he was shocked. Now a surprising man because on that day no or to me a director say omon reconsider what I say. Omuntimi nko for reading now omon hwehwe near me answer no munyam pass e kra better than I pass e no. Na ye no nwa. So otimi kan ho asem kakra.
And in fact, when it was passed on Friday, it was even a surprise to me because I know that they were going to start the consideration of the bill. And that was the instructions I left before I went to attend to other activities. It was Friday and members wanted to go home early to their constituencies because we were going to sit today. And so I knew they wouldn't have completed it. But all of a sudden, I read about this passage. I reacted, and later I saw on TV all the things that happened. And so this evening, I have asked the leaders to meet me in my office. So they will be here for us to go through it. This is such a critical bill that we believe there must be consensus. But it's not about passing bill. It's about implementing it and making sure that it benefits the people. And so leaders of both sides of the House will be with me this evening for us to discuss what next after the passage of the bill. And I'm very sure that being men and women of wisdom will find a way out and to get all Ghanaians to buy and trade. We are grateful to all those who have come out with the commendation of the good work that Parliament has done. But we want to assure them that whatever discussion we'll have will be to better what has already been passed. It won't take any shine of it. But we need all of them to come on board.
And then President Mahama so it me be raising issue say bill na ya pass for no one of the mampeni where Wale and say any bill be a parliament maybe or sign the name this new one who say amount for raising issues the minority issues the issue of quorum now quorum and say say ebi enfan say number of people in parliament and I say MPs in parliament so mutimi di djuma there is an agreed number bia although say and I say enkan say there be any obi na there be on beba 100% it me decide so okay say enfan say 200 MPs in our parliament emu be say let's say 120 eba on any day bia na yitimi edi djuma that is quorum that is the agreed number omudi ye djuma e wo say sa number ni timi so pe ye betimi edi djuma. In fact, President Mahama raised the issue and said, what it is, yes, a number, and so what I say, which is where the quorum no issue ever. It will also change on the course of normal Tanasia engage, no more did you make sure say all the issues you mean, ya rectify and sound on as man penny or best sign with me aside. And so the other part change, and I say, the new bill in parliament, et me a person. It is far from actually becoming a law, which means on one casadia as a stance on that day, the issues are not ever. On here that you ready same for be sign because of you say issues and so that's what with me assign.
Parliament has been considering it, and it was supposed to have been passed last week. There have been a few issues raised. One, that there wasn't quorum when it was passed. That's an issue that has come up. And then two, there were some procedural lapses in terms of its passage. I just got some communication that the speaker was reading a statement to address the issue of the lapses in the passage of the bill. And so, like I said, when I was the opposition leader, the president has a number of options in this matter. It must come for assent. And so once the president gets it, you go through it because you are not part of the discussion in parliament. And so the legal representative, the legal counsel in the presidency and the attorney general would sit on it because it was a private member's motion. Right. This was not a government bill. And so we'll look at it and make sure that everything is in order before the president is advised to assent. The president has another option if there are some things that he thinks are a problem. He can refer to the Council of State for advice. The Council of State is an advisory body to the president, and so they'll take a look at it, and then they will advise the president. And if there are issues, substantial issues that are raised, the president would return the bill to parliament, indicating exactly what the issues are. And so there's still quite a while to go before that bill becomes law.
Now, Ebra Ekobasano, and I was 3 days ago, the Speaker of Parliament did meet out to Tanasi, Emma, with me at the Parliament, and as a Ebeya, or more reconsider bill, no, what I say now, Ubika say, yen reconsider bia, Nes or no, yen reverse Adom, yen sound family, yen shame, yen sound passing of floor. Because according to Speaker of Parliament, we raise issues of bipartisan consensus, or perhaps funny in our campum ditum, never be a queen, future legal challenges and all that intimate baby. Aside that the issue of quorum, no near the identity, a whole lot. To me, I say, almost answer reconsider bill. Nanke be almost family be na go through the process, or when you debate for 1 year, near maybe no more yes for winning a beja too, and some of my. Now, mind you, say Speaker. He is the Speaker of Parliament. He is the head. Obetime decided say bill one jintum, and as well some trouble go for any other. There's a whole lot of legal issues with that. On Parliament in any omoye. But then some more kind of say bill nedie. Say or no crowns win jintum. A bear day say beko president any. And so yesterday or 3 days ago, this is what he said.
In the aftermath of the proceedings of the House on Friday, concerns have been raised as to whether the final text of the bill, incorporating all amendments agreed to during the consideration stage, was available to members in a manner that enabled them to fully appreciate the exact form of the final bill before the third reading and ultimate passage into law. I have also taken note of concerns expressed by some honorable members that amendments adopted during the consideration stage did not reflect the position taken by the committee, as stated in the conclusion of the committee's report, to which, and I quote, "The committee, having carefully considered the bill, unanimously recommends unquote, its passage to the House. Unanimously recommends its passage to the House. Neither did the proceedings of that day convey the unanimity nor bipartisan understanding upon which the bill was initially promoted and deliberated upon. Whether or not these concerns raised on the floor and the public discourse are ultimately justified is not for the Speaker to determine. There are, however, concerns that go to the heart of parliamentary consensus and the confidence of the people and members in the legislative process. Honorable members, the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill 2025 and its implications on the LGBTQ plus issue is a global concern. Therefore, the eye of the world is upon this parliament, the Parliament of Ghana. What we do here must be able to withstand any legal and constitutional challenges that are sure to come. The bill has from its inception been presented to the nation as a bipartisan legislative initiative. Such bipartisan cooperation represents Parliament at its finest. It demonstrates to the people of Ghana that notwithstanding political differences, members of Parliament are capable of uniting around matters which they consider to be of national importance. It is therefore my considered view that a legislation of this magnitude ought, as far as practicable, to command not merely the numerical support of a majority of members, but also the broad confidence of the House regarding both its substance, and the process by which it was adopted. What is right must be done rightly. Honorable members, I call on Parliament to rely on the provisions of motions and the conventions of this House to go back to this historic and important bill and reconsider it in the way that is truly bipartisan to conform with the convictions and confidence of our people, the initiators of the bill. For the avoidance of doubt, my concern is that legislation of such profound national importance should proceed on a foundation of broad parliamentary support, bipartisan cooperation, and scrupulous adherence to the procedures established by the Constitution and the standing orders of Parliament. The legitimacy, credibility, and enduring authority of any law depend not only on the objectives sought to be achieved, but also in the integrity of the process by which the law is enacted. Procedural law is as equally important as substantive law. Honorable members, converse and go out and on TV and radio, misinform Ghanaians again. I'm taking note of all that. That's why I initially said, read the standing orders on when the Speaker is making a statement. You listen to the Speaker in silence. You don't form groups and be making conversations. Clerk, be gone. Indeed, this statement is consistent with my obligation under Order 24B of the Standing Orders to promote consensus on matters under consideration in the House. It is with this conviction that I invite honorable members to reflect on whether further consideration of this matter may better secure the confidence, unity, collective ownership of the bill, and respect of our faith, laws, and passion of the nation. Accordingly, I respectfully appeal to honorable members to reflect carefully upon the issues raised and to consider in the larger national interests the bipartisan character of the bill, the unity of the House and the nation, and the need to maintain the highest standards of procedural integrity to revisit its decision on the third reading of the bill to permit a reconsideration of the final text of the bill and any amendments thereto. Such a course, if adopted by the House, would not be an abandonment of the bill, nor a rejection of its objectives. Rather, it will represent a reaffirmation of Parliament's commitment to due process, fidelity to the Constitution, consensus building, transparency, and legislative certainty. It will ensure that any final decision taken by the House reflects not only the will of Parliament, but also the fullest support of Ghanaians in the law that is ultimately enacted.
Now, Ebra Okoka say na majority leader Akasa, was answering we are the president and speaker of parliament, or 8 make us a bill, no, or if you say issues, with yes, answer reconsider. Now, yen to talk to me, no. But speaker of parliament, and some more kind. Mahama Ayariga no the majority leader, HMA, or not the way maybe, or running safely home. Now, mind you say a passive bill because before several president and Mama sign him. The speaker of parliament on the bed director clerk of parliament, no wait me, actually, what I say letter, anyone your man, Agyapong, son or Mampenia Jetum. In this case, reconsideration as speaker, Kana Maswa. The possibility say bill no yentimi impasse and as yentimi forwarding the Jubilee House among penny and sign a high. Now based on this, Mahama Ayariga no majority speaker or majority leader. HM say yen fan to Ghana for any control say unless CSOs, which is civil society organizations be and as a people concerned with the bill no raising issues be a show will be a tiara yes idea or not there is no way so sign so call back. Akwa revisit bill no as speaker say reconsider into or say akotnase akwohwe akowisi time di hu djuma we wie ne de there is no way so be san so revisit bill ni biem djuma es we di as speaker we di and as majority leader we di emra any processes as course be a day no e course so the issue of quorum according to Mahama Ayariga Chim said that day it wasn't an issue because some reaching quorum and will be a resident issue in the net on as a speaker to western no president can issue for minority for a whole issue. Mahama Ayariga Chima, running the processes BSO come said ye parliament and a Ganamra, Ejitum or parliament issue no ye. So there is no way so on or Bakotna bill whom him or reconsider because the speaker say on reconsider or you will move on any from Sumia bill into on speaker call now or calling for reconsideration. Mahama Ayariga say nay, on Jintumine, on Timunko and Kotna bill no whom be in the Mujuma. The anti-LGBTQ bill, according to Mahama Ayariga, is passed.
But the civil society groups should take the bill and read it. If they read it and what we have passed doesn't satisfy them, they should come back to me. They should come back to me. Even though I'm not the sponsor of the bill, I'm the leader of the House. I have, a very large number in the chamber, so I can confidently say that my side can determine the fate of the bill. If they go and read it and they have issues with the bill, that's civil society, Catholic Secretariat, the Chief Imam's office, those institutions, National House of Chiefs, if they have an issue with the bill and come back, I swear I will convince my colleagues that we should reconsider it.
Is this possible, though, legally, constitutionally, and even looking at your standing orders, for a bill that has been passed to be returned to the chamber for deliberation if it is not from the president with an explainer or rejecting the bill and giving a reason like the Constitution provides? So what the Speaker is asking for you to do now, how would you negotiate that hurdle? Can you just go and take the bill from the clerk, bring it back, and continue with your debate?
Well, me, if I were convinced that one, we could build consensus with the NPP on this bill. If I were convinced that two, there is a problem with the bill. If I were convinced that three, that we breached the procedures, perhaps I could have applied my mind to some way out of this situation. But as I said, I'm not convinced that we can build consensus with the NPP on this matter, because so long as the NPP is concerned, they didn't believe NDC will pass it, and we have passed it. So they must just raise as many issues as possible, such as claiming that it's been watered down, it is not implementable, or this and that. I think that those are baseless arguments. Now, the concern of speaker that we should build a consensus is not workable, because we are all pursuing our different political agendas. So consensus is not possible in this matter. Once we pass it and it is law, anybody who is in the executive arm of government has an obligation to implement it.
Okay, so while you cannot answer or grant the speaker's request on consensus because of your own challenges with your colleagues, can you at least grant the speaker's other request that the bill be brought back to the chamber and deliberations continue? So another third reading, I don't know what I should call it now, the fourth reading should happen.
Look, this is a bill that we passed in the last parliament. We struggled. It wasn't signed. I took a view that it is a bill that could be assented to by the new president. We said no, we should bring it back to the House. We brought it back to the House. A bill that is just about 19 clauses. We have kept it in this House 1.5 years, and then we are saying that we should bring it back again and consider what? I don't know specifically what provisions in that bill needs reconsideration. If I'm convinced that there's anything, because don't forget that we worked with our colleagues on the entire bill from clause 1 to clause 9. There was no issue. We got to clause 9. Clause 9, they had issues with the proposal of the committee that we should elaborate on the proviso that's subject to the Constitution. Even there, the committee made 5 recommendations. We engaged, and they proposed that we delete 2 of the clauses. Our side supported them to reject 2 of the clauses and maintain 3 of the clauses, one dealing with media freedom, one dealing with professional freedom of doctors, and the third dealing with the professional freedom of lawyers and the right to counsel. So we worked. There was consensus. The real reason why they walked out and did all those things was because they just felt that if this bill is passed, NDC would have established to the Ghanaian public that we keep our promises, and as we said we will pass it, we have passed it, and they know that once we pass it, President Mahama will sign it, and so they were now struggling for finding an excuse why President Akuffo did not give his assent. This is pure politics. It has nothing to do with people committed to the cause of Ghanaians to fight, LGBTQ.
Okay. This bill has a history of, getting lost in between Parliament House and the Sankara overpass or the Akwaji overpass to the Jubilee House. The fear is that the same thing will befall that bill again this time around, considering that no less a person than the Speaker of the House is asking for it to be recalled and debated. You, the leader of government business, who typically would be the ones who move this thing before it is taken in the House, you do not think that there's a need for that to actually happen. Now, the Speaker is like the head of the legislature. He perhaps has to instruct the clerk to write to the president and say, this is a bill we have passed, please go ahead and sign it. Now that the Speaker doesn't think that it's a proper bill that should be shipped to the president, the clerk will not be instructed. What happens? That bill either remains there untouched or has to be brought back. How are you going to deal with it?
Well, it is not a government of Ghana proposed bill. It's private members' bill. And so far as we are concerned, we have passed it. As for how he and the clerk decide to treat it, that I think is left in the hands of the general public, civil society groups who have been interested in having the bill passed. As for me, I know President John Dramani Mahama has said that if a bill is brought to him, and unless there are serious constitutional violations for him to seek advice, he will give his assent to the bill. If they don't send it to him, that one is their business, and the business of those who sponsored the bill. I believe that as for the general public and Ghanaians, they have seen that me as leader have done my job. I have moved to have the bill passed, and so far as I'm concerned, the bill is passed. And if they decide not to transmit it because they are not convinced about its passage, that's entirely their decision.
Okay, and on the issue of the quorum, how are you going to deal with that? Because that's a
nobody raised the question of quorum. You see, go and take the video recordings of parliamentary proceedings of all the laws that we have passed, and you will see that very often we can pass a law with, a very small number sitting in the chamber. It doesn't mean there's no quorum. Quorum is determined by checking the votes and proceedings of the previous day, and that tells you how many MPs were present. The fact that they are not sitting in the chamber doesn't mean there was no quorum. Unless you raise an issue of quorum, then they ring the bell and they are not available to come and be counted. That's when you raise a question of quorum. Nobody raised a question of quorum for the speaker to now say that, okay, ring the bell, let's do head count to see whether we have the numbers to do business. That's why even speaker's statement, I didn't hear him mention the issue of quorum because he himself knows that there's no issue of quorum. So I don't think that there's an issue of quorum because nobody raised a question of quorum for us to do head count and then take a decision.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, sir.
Thank you.